Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. So as the title of this video suggests, we're discussing digital ID now being required for ride-hailing services. Let me get into the citation in a minute. So I actually thought of making this video first, then I saw a comment on our channel. I figured I'd mention the comment, quoting directly, "Can you do a segment on the digital ID progress for Land of Smiles grab and bolt companies are requiring drivers to comply? This will include passengers if it's a ride service," which I don't know how you're going to do this, but here they are trying to do it. Quoting directly, I'll throw this up on screen. I actually found this through my friend Nick. He sent it to me. I'll put up a link in the description below to his Substack channel. Credit where credit's due there. Tip of the hat to you, Nick. Thank you. Quoting directly, "From October, Thailand will enforce sweeping changes to its ride-hailing industry, aiming to raise safety, transparency." Transparency. That is an interesting buzzword in the weird dystopia we're moving into. They used the term that was loosely described as transparency at the end of the USSR. They called it glasnost. I've talked about that a lot in other videos, including a video we were talking about Nirvana glasnost because they were talking about creating data centers at the Ministry of Finance. And I think it was the finance minister at the time, his name, when you move the letters around, was Nirvana Glasnost. And glasnost has been described as transparency. I think the better translation from the Russian, if you consider all the nuances of sort of the PC, what you might call communist nuances, I would say woke nuances, however you want to put it. But to my mind, it's almost like social media. Transparency in the sense we're using it to track you. So that's how it's transparent. Quoting further, "And accountability across platforms." What was unaccountable on these platforms to begin with? It's just nonsense. Because at the end of the day, it's my understanding that if it's based on a credit card, there's all kinds of ID associated with that. And if you're using the app and then paying cash, the accountability occurs when you pay for the ride. And meanwhile, people would say, well, we don't know who's doing what with, I don't know. I guess if they don't have digital ID, whatever straw man argument, if you want to call it that, is, somebody could get hurt using one of these people and we wouldn't know who it was. Really? We're able to track them everywhere. It's GPS tracking. Turns a phone into a low jack, literally. It's pretty ridiculous. No, this is just totalitarianism. That's all it is. Companies such as Grab, Bolt, and Lala Move will be required to actively oversee services, shifting away from simply operating as intermediaries. Platforms must implement digital ID verification for both drivers and passengers. Why? Honestly, this is the other thing. Digital was supposed to make everything easier. Oh, it's a ride-hailing app. You don't have to deal with cabs and all of that. How is this easier? If you got to go through some show me your papers process to just get into a Grab. Come on. It's clear at this point, the mask has come off. These global initiatives, which, let's be clear, ride-hailing was a global initiative, and in many ways it was a disruptive industry that came in and really did a lot of damage economically. Now, I argued at the time, well, it'll also cause a lot of benefit. This is how free market economics works. But now we see that no, the disruption was intended to get rid of as many of the alternatives as possible to ride-hailing so that once everybody was on it, they could then demand digital ID. That's the purpose here. Quoting further, "While drivers will need valid public licenses and properly registered vehicles, shared or borrowed accounts will be outlawed." Outlawed. Why? What's the big public harm that could come about from having a shared account? Quoting further, "And platforms will have to display fares transparently alongside live tracking features." Don't they already do that? Quoting further, "The reforms designed to bring Thailand in line with international standards." Maybe I don't want Thailand in line with international standards. I moved to Thailand to be in Thailand. I don't want to be in line with international standards. It's like years back when the deputy mayor of Bangkok said we're benchmarking Singapore for how we're going to do how we're going to do urban development. I'm sitting there going, why don't you find another bench? I don't want to live in Singapore. I want to live in Bangkok, Thailand. And I don't necessarily think Bangkok, Thailand needs to be in line with international standards. Thailand is fine. Privacy, free enterprise, laissez-faire economics, it works. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but the rest of the world's languishing. This place isn't doing too bad. Although meanwhile, we have to be subject to the vicissitudes and the negative smear campaigns of the foreign, from my perspective, primarily financially backed press, taking potshots constantly at Thailand as to how undeveloped and stagnant the economy is here. Meanwhile, though, we have an actual economy that runs at a profit. The GDP is actually growing because it's not hyper-financialized based on a bunch of debt and based on selling everybody's data to everybody else. You know, Thailand doesn't need to be in line with international standards. The Thai standard is far better than international standards, in my opinion. Quoting further, are expected to improve their trust while reducing disputes and unlawful practices. Well, whoop-de-doo, let's all sing kumbaya for this. Yeah, like I said, Thailand is fine. We didn't need this. I would argue the ride-hailing creeped me out to begin with. This is another thing that's not going to change my life one iota. It's like digital banking. Yeah, I get that it's causing problems for people. Not for me. You know, now, not everybody has been here as long as I have, and they have, you know, a firm that they work in where people can help them and stuff. I get it. Digital banking is kind of the norm. But all of this was brought in to be more convenient. None of it's turning out to be more convenient. Meanwhile, I'm sick of hearing about how Thailand needs to get in line with anything. Thailand doesn't need to get in line with anything international. Thailand is fine. I don't see what's being added by this other than totalitarian dystopia, which less of that is what Thailand needs. The more this Thailand throws off, I think the better Thailand will do economically. I hope we don't see this actually come to fruition. That being said, we'll certainly be keeping you updated on this channel as the situation evolves.